Welcome back. It is yours truly, Nick, of Movie AV Impulse, and today I have another special guest. We are going over our top 5 favorite 1990s martial arts movies. And I'm going to tell you right now, my selection is way out there. And I don't know about Dell's yet, but Dell on Movies sent me a video. I have not uploaded it yet, so I have not seen it. And I'm pretty much guessing we're going to have some wild selections, because when it comes to martial arts, there are so many different variations. I'm just interested to see what his picks are going to be. And while we're on that whole B, today's video is sponsored by the letter E. That's right. But if you like what you see, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that bell notification if you want to see more of these, because hey, I'm just here to have fun, and I love talking about movies. So without any further ado, right after my intro, we are going to get into Dell on Movies. And if you're not subscribed to him, shame on yourself. Description will be down below. Click that link, go subscribe to him, and go have a great time with him. Let's get into it.
What's up, Nick? Thanks for having me on to talk about my top 5 martial arts movies of the 1990s. I am chosen to do this, and it was a tough task, but that didn't make it any less fun. I had a great time trying to figure out which ones I was going to put on here, and I came up with 5 that I think I'm pretty happy with. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. At number 5 for me is a movie that, when you look at the storyline and what's going on, it's a little bit problematic for 2023, especially. It was even problematic back then, but I can't deny how much fun I've had watching this movie over the years, and that is the very best Steven Seagal movie, in my opinion, Marked for Death. He just tears limbs off and does all sorts of things, and we got the great twist at the end with the villain, so I really enjoyed that one. Moving on up to number 4 is going to be my introduction to the one and only Jackie Chan, and this movie is Rumble in the Bronx. It is the movie that, like I said, it introduced me to him. I had known of him for years before this, but I never really saw any of his movies until I wandered into the theater to watch this one, and watching him just climb up walls and jump through shopping carts and fight with all sorts of things, refrigerators, whatever was around, he was able to use, and it was funny on top of that. I had a great time watching that one. I highly recommend you watch as much Jackie Chan as you possibly can. This list could have been all Jackie Chan, or it could have been all Jackie Chan and the next person that's represented this movie, Jet Li. I could have made 5 movies with just those 2 guys. I decided not to, because I wanted to give you a little something different, but I had to include both, so I got my Jackie Chan pick in. My Jet Li pick for number 3 is Once Upon a Time in China, the first movie, if we're going to limit it to one movie, but the whole series, fantastic. Go ahead and watch it. They're all filmed in the 90s, so they're all 90s movies. And like I said, the first one, if you want to go with one, is fantastic. And that's a great place to jump into the series. Jet Li is a legend. Another legend is in my number 2, and this movie was my introduction to this guy, and it's none other than Donnie Yen, and the movie is Iron Monkey. So Iron Monkey is, like I said, Donnie Yen was in this movie. First time I really came across him. Quentin Tarantino presents. It was big in China, and he bought it over here and had it put in some theaters, and I did get to see this in the theater when that happened, and I was very pleased, because it was very much a throwback to the kind of martial arts movies I grew up on in New York back when I was a kid, and I just love this movie. So let's move on to my number 1. And that is a movie that is conflicting for me, and the reason is because this is not a traditional martial arts movie. It's not anything like Iron Monkey for sure. It's a much more modern movie. It's an American movie, lots of guns in the movie, but at its core, martial arts plays a big role in that movie. In fact, one of the most famous lines from the movie is, "I know Kung Fu," and that movie is none other than The Matrix. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I had to put it at my number one. And you can argue with me if you want, but it's staying at my top spot. But those are not the only good ones. I do have some honorable mentions here that I want to mention really quickly. And like I said, this could have been all Jackie Chan and Jet Li. And just to give you a couple of each, there's for Jackie Chan, I have Jackie Chan's First Strike. Also amazing movie. He fights with ladders and falls out of helicopters and all sorts of stuff in there. Another one is Mr. Nice Guy. Even a little more comedy in between the fighting than normal for Jackie Chan. We can see him blush a few times too. For Jet Li, we've got Contract Killer, and that one's not quite showing up. There we go. Contract Killer. Another one, this one is Fist of Legend. This one was really close to being my Jet Li representative for the list. It's a remake of Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. And just in case you weren't able to see, I'm absolutely representing Bruce Lee here today. He's my he's the all-time GOAT. Unfortunately, he passed in the 70s, so none of his movies are here. And then one more. We've got Jet Li and Michelle Yeoh with Tai Chi Master. So I had to include that also. And finally, I had to have at least one superhero movie in here. And this one, lots of martial arts in this one as well. And that is Blade, starring one Wesley Snipes, who is actually a martial artist himself. And that first one is the only one made in the 90s. The other two, I think, are 2000s movies. Otherwise, they could have made it here too. Well, Blade 2 could not, Blade Trinity. But anyway, Nick, that's what I have for my top 5. It's going to be interesting to see how many titles we have in common. If we have any, you might have 5 completely different titles. So I'm going to be watching closely to see what that's like. Peace.
Man, I bet Dell has some wild ones. I appreciate you making that video for me and sending it over. And personally, I can't wait to see what your selection was. And I'll see you in editing. But let's get into my top 5 favorite 90s martial arts movie. And we are going to start right off differently with naming 2 honorable mentions before I start getting into number 5. My first honorable mention, this one I mentioned before, was one of my favorite movies growing up, and I got made fun of for watching this movie all the time because my friends still disagree with me, even at this age, that this was not a martial arts movie. Well, it's going to be Mortal Kombat. I know it is just crazy to think that, my God, this Mortal Kombat is so old. We got the newer version, and it's, CGI is a lot better, but I still don't think it holds up to this one. I just absolutely love this one as a kid, and for its time, the CGI still holds up for me. So if you haven't checked out Mortal Kombat, the original, definitely check it out. I watched this till the VHS tape got ate up by the VCR. Yes, the VCR. Those square things we used to have sitting on every single top of TVs. VCR. My number 2 honorable mention, then we'll get right into my top 5, is going to be Street Fighter. Now, some would consider this a martial arts movie, some wouldn't, because it's a video game adaptation on a martial arts game. A lot of those players in there were using martial arts. So I consider this a martial arts movie. It's fun, and it's just an all-out good time. It was so bad, it was good. And I would still love to see this on a 4K. Now, before I get into my top 5, these are just ones I watched all the time as a kid. And I know you guys are probably going to be disappointed, but these are, again, the ones that just I could never get enough of. And the first one, and my favorite martial artist, period, is going to be Jet Li, the Legend. There was just something about this. I just felt like it was nonstop, just Jet Li whooping everybody's ass. And I loved it. Like, I wanted so much to be like, not even be like, just imitating in the living room and playing with my friends while we were watching this movie, imitating the moves. It was just so crazy. So that's coming in at number 5. This one for me just holds it, especially the scene where they're fighting and they're throwing tables and chairs at each other. I mean, I know it's all strings and everything, but God, it's just such a thrill ride. Coming in at number 4, literally, this was like my first, maybe not my first, I remember watching Drunken Master, but this was where Jackie Chan really blew my mind away. While Drunken Master and Drunken Master 2 and all that were great, nothing, and I still think to this day, when it comes to stunt work, nothing is better than Rumble in the Bronx. This was just like a non-stop action-packed, stunt-packed movie. I don't think anybody else could really pull this off without using a stunt man. And he got injured so many times working on this movie. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I think maybe Police Story, sliding down the chandelier in the mall or something like that. That was probably like the other crazy movie that he did a lot of stunt work in, but nothing compares to Rumble in the Bronx. I mean, the motorcycle scenes, him jumping off of the balcony to save his uncle's friend's car, and just everything was just unbelievable. I could not believe that this man was actually doing these stunts, and I still commend him. I just still give it to him. Just such an awesome, awesome movie. All right, y'all gonna hate me for this one, but like I said, Jet Li is just my favorite. Always has been. His moves on camera have always been mesmerizing to me. In like the new age, I love Donnie Yen. I mean, Donnie Yen, I wish we were doing a 2000 because Ip Man would probably be my number 1 because I absolutely love and adore that movie. Although I am very disappointed in the 4K restoration that they did on it, it still doesn't separate me from the love I have for that movie. But my number 3 is going to be Fist of Legend. Just loved everything about this. And just the action was just insane. Again, I know there were strings used in this one, unlike Jackie Chan, where a lot of his stuff is all just kind of, wild and out there. Jet Li just always, his movements, his technique, his art, and his presence on screen. When he's on camera, he demands your attention, and man, does he certainly get it. And I still think this is one of his better movies. Just my opinion, hands down, super great. And if this doesn't have a 4K, because I'm not sure, it definitely needs one for sure. Coming in at number 2, this one I wanted so bad just to be Colt. I'm not gonna lie, Cody, you're gonna love this selection, but Three Ninjas, I watched this nonstop all the time. I remember my dad had one of those dummies in the basement, and I used to kind of like punch it and stuff like that. It didn't light up like, what the movie did. The grandfather made him, with the little light up and stuff. But this movie I even one year made one of those masks to wear for Halloween out of like, I forgot what they used to call it, like that paper stuff. You used to dip it in the batter, and I forgot what it's called. I don't remember, but I mean, Three Ninjas, just everything about it. And it was just such an awesome thrill ride. And when you were a kid watching this and watching other kids and, the whole Rocky loves Emily, like all that is so nostalgic. You cannot help but love this movie. And it still holds up today. I'll still pop this in and watch it all day long. And I didn't do that just for you, Cody, but I know you'd appreciate that one. And last but not least, now, this not only is my favorite martial arts, it also holds a special place in my heart. This was the first movie my stepfather ever took me to see in the theaters, and I literally vividly remember it to this day. The theater, the seats, the popcorn, the stickiness on the floor, because we were at one of those cheap rundown movie theaters that never cleaned up after the next showing. They just went from one showing to the next, to the next, to the next. And this just brings back pure memories. We still need a 4K restoration on it. And Umbrella just announced a smell-o-vision of this movie. And yes, I have ordered it. When it comes in, I will be doing a full review on it, even though it's just a Blu-ray copy. But I'm going to be that guy that scratches and sniffs at every little icon because I want to know what this experience is going to be like. So without any further ado, coming in at number 1, sorry for the long introduction. Look at that, I even knocked my own thing out of the way. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This will never ever be let down. And to me, in the 90s, this was something I watched on a regular basis. I have had 2 VHS tapes because the first one got totally ruined and the second one was wearing out before the DVDs were hitting, and I just watched this all the time. If it was on TV, if it was on a pay channel, because my dad worked for Continental Cable, so we used to get all the free pay channels. And then when he didn't work for them anymore, we still had rigged boxes because guess what? He knew how to do all that. So every time this movie was on, I can't help but stop and watch it. It is just so iconic. I wish they would have never have changed the costumes. I wish they would have kept the costumes the same for part 2 and part 3. And I really hope that Seth Rogen really pays homage to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the new movie coming out, because if you don't, Seth, you are going to have a lot of angry fans coming at you. So I hope you like my top 5. I hope you like Dell's top 5. Make sure you go subscribe to him. If you like what you see, subscribe to me. I will be doing another rant on Sunday.
Well, that's just fucking great. Oh, great.
And I kind of changed my mind. I was going to do another one on the Ninja Turtles, but you know what? There's another movie that definitely deserves more attention than it gets. And shout out to my boy, Renardo. We were talking about it today, and god damn if I don't want to do a rant on that movie now. So stay tuned for Sunday. And if you missed last Sunday's video, I'll throw it at the end. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on Sunday.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.